This is 7 News with Angie Asimus.
Good afternoon. Sydney should prepare for a long lockdown. That was the message from Premier Gladys Berejiklian today. 77 new cases were detected in New South Wales overnight. 33 of those were infectious in the community. Despite more than 48,000 tests, police are furious. 50 of those new cases were close family members of infected people, meaning the virus is still spreading through families despite people being told to stay at home. Tragically, one elderly woman has died. At this stage, it's believed she wasn't vaccinated. All this as the Premier warns tomorrow's case numbers will likely be well over 100. Chris Maher reports.
Well, long testing queues, including here in Sydney's south, 77 new COVID cases and confirmation today of the death of an elderly person. Now, cleaners have been busy in dozens of venues around Sydney as contact tracers race to try and keep ahead of the outbreak. 77 new cases, 33 of those were infected whilst in the community. 50 are close family members of existing cases. Now, there are 52 people in hospital. Also confirmed today the death of a 90-year-old woman believed to be unvaccinated. Today the Premier indicated that things this week are about to get worse.
I'm anticipating the numbers in New South Wales will be greater than 100 tomorrow. Now that's what I'm anticipating, and I'll be shocked if it's less than 100.
The main focus is on Sydney's southwest, where health officials say COVID numbers are extraordinarily high, going from household to household. The lockdown, of course, is due to finish in Sydney on Friday, but today the Premier gave her clearest indication yet we're set to go beyond that.
Given where we're at, and given the lockdown was supposed to be lifted on Friday, I think everybody can tell that it's highly unlikely at this stage, given where the numbers are.
Today, the government is calling for tradies who attend multiple locations to step up their testing, and also new restrictions in place requiring mask wearing in common areas of apartment blocks. And Health wants particularly older people, if they can, to bring forward their scheduled second dose of COVID vaccination.
Thanks, Chris. Let's bring Amelia Brace now live. Amelia, police are cracking down once again. More COVID parties have been broken up overnight.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, Angie, when you hear those numbers, to think that there are still people in the community who are not getting the message. But that is exactly what police found overnight, intercepting 3 illegal gatherings. The first, a group of 5 men who'd travelled across Sydney to play FIFA in a mate's man cave. That, of course, is an online game they each could have played safely in their own homes. Then in Homebush, 10 people were fined for holding an 18th birthday party. They tried to tell police they weren't aware of the rules. And in Marrickville, 15 men were caught inside a home playing cards.
They went to that unit and found 15 men in a small unit playing cards. These men were in their 50s through to just short of 90 years of age. No masks, no social distancing, clearly in an environment that was a huge risk to them, their families and their community.
Unfortunately, the situation facing police was not much better this morning. Take a look at these pictures. Dozens of people up on a headland in Manly in our northern beaches. Many of them acknowledged to me that they were not from the same household. They also conceded that the social distancing there was abysmal. Pictures like these, of course, go to show the risk that is still in our community. And if people continue to behave like this, we know that this lockdown will last even longer. Angie?
Amelia Brace, thank you. We have breaking news now. Let's go live to Georgia Comensoli in Melbourne. Georgia, Victoria is about to slam shut its border to New South Wales.
Our health authorities only announced this decision in the last hour because they say they're worried about the risk of COVID escaping the current red zones of Greater Sydney and getting into Victoria. From 11:59 tonight, the whole of New South Wales and the ACT will become a red zone under Victoria's travel permit system. This means that no one can enter the state from New South Wales unless you are a returning Victorian resident. If you are coming home, you'll have to do 14 days quarantine once you arrive. Those trying to get into Victoria who don't have an exemption face face fines of up to $5,000. Those who live on the border are exempt from moving freely across state lines, but at this stage there's no word on how long our border will be shut for. Angie?
Thanks, Georgia. It's becoming increasingly likely the NRL will move the competition to Queensland after an 11th hour decision to shift Origin 3 from Newcastle. The Premier issued a stern warning about the game's ability to continue in Sydney given the current COVID crisis. Here's Michelle Bishop.
Good afternoon, Ange. Well, this afternoon's COVID scare with the Warriors could be the final straw, with the ARL Commission behind closed doors and expected to announce sometime tonight that all Sydney-based clubs will be relocating to Queensland. The Warriors refused permission to get off the team bus at Kogarah this afternoon. Officials there had discovered a staff member at the ground was deemed a close contact. The entire area was sanitised and the players were eventually allowed off to take on the Sharks.
The players had to stay on the bus for a while we just sorted it all out, and ultimately we were allowed in to a clean zone and had to send some locals off to get some food for the boys.
Now, that one mishap had the potential to bring the entire competition down. NRL officials are now working around the clock to make sure they get this right. We are expecting the Dogs, Dragons, West Tigers, Penrith Roosters, Sharks, Parramatta, Knights and, of course, the